First of all, I do not know how to start this show today. It really happens with me when I have to start a show on a monologue, especially with guests like Professor Raghunath Mashalkar. The reason I'm confused today, first of all, how should I address you? Because you've got 54 doctorates and a chemical engineer. So I was, brought up to understand that either you become an engineer or a doctor. Now, somebody with 54 doctorates, Dr. Abdul Kalam held the record before you, 48. There are reports in the internet, artificially generated reports, which say there are people with 100 plus doctorates in India. Dr. Sachin, somebody's name was there, I read it from Maharashtra, from Telangana. Dr. Siena Rao also is supposed to be having almost, huge number of doctorates behind him. But what is this story about 54 and 50? What is this passion that drives this panache, continuous pursuit behind doctorates and more doctorates? And what do you really achieve out of it? Professor Raghunath Mashalkar, first of all, welcome to Vision India Forum's Road to 2047 show today. This probably is an opportunity for the entire world to listen to India's one of the greatest, leaders in the space of innovation. One of the greatest scientists the country, the soil of India, Bharat, has produced. Somebody who grew up the ranks from being somebody who didn't have 2 times meals to somebody who was funded by the Tatas at rupees 60 annually for his education, who studied under the lamppost, to today chairing Tata's affirmative programs. To read through your profile, it will need a separate program. I would not want to waste so much of time behind it. But let me start with the first question. I'll go back to the first question. What drove the passion to keep pursuing knowledge and keep adding more doctorates, even at this age, after having achieved like no one else has? Over to you, Raghunath Mashalkar.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I must say it's a great honor and a privilege to have been invited by you on this show. It's a real honor. Let me clarify about these honorary doctorates. Number one is that this is a record in engineering. All right. So when we say Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam had 48, we are comparing like with like in engineering. So this is a national record, 54 in engineering, not in science. Professor Siena Rao, yes, of course, he holds the record in chemical sciences. Professor M.S. Swaminathan in agriculture. These two have these records in their own fields. This is simply in engineering. So that is, I think, one clarification. Secondly, these are honorary doctorates. In a sense, there is a university which actually feels that what you have done is worth its while, you have served the society, you have made a difference, and they honor you. So, for example, I've been given an honorary doctorate by Pretoria from South Africa, or Wisconsin from US, or University of London, etc. These universities, they felt that I have done something that is worthwhile, and that is how they were sort of honored. So I think it is not that one is seeking these honors, they sort of come to you. In fact, I was very touched when I got the honorary doctorate from Pretoria, for example, South Africa. And they say that from this university, we don't give honorary doctorates that easily. I'm sure you'll be happy to know the last one that we gave. So I said, who was the last one? They said Nelson Mandela. So coming from South Africa and somebody, and I've done nothing for South Africa, so as to say, their feeling that you need to be honored is a great feeling. I mean, one is grateful to God that there is such an appreciation. So that is the first. Secondly, what makes me going? I think normally I recite five Mashalkar mantras, and one of them is the following. That comes from my guru, Professor C.N.R. Rao, Bharat Ratna, basically. All right. I have the highest regard for him. And I remember that when I became fellow of Royal Society, three engineering scientists in 365 years had become FRS. And that's a considered, engineers don't get Nobel Prize, they get this honor, which is the highest honor. And you sign in the same book that Newton has signed, which is something very special. So when I got the FRS, I called Professor Sena Rao and told him that, sir, I've got this FRS. And you know what was his answer? Not bad. So I was very disappointed. Then I got some other honors and so on and so forth. Each time he would say, not bad. Then I said, sir, what do I have to do to impress you? And his answer actually is the one that is the motivator. He said that you are climbing on a ladder of excellence, and that ladder has no limit, accepting the limit that you put on yourself. What it means is that no matter what you achieve, you have to say, my best is yet to come. All right. And that's why I tell all the young students that every day in the morning when you get up, you have to say, my best is yet to come. It doesn't matter whether you are 18 or 80. Every day you must say, my best is yet to come. And today is the day it is going to come. And that you will do till the last day of your life. I'm 83 now, going on to 84. I do that every day. What is it that I can do which will surpass the best that I have done? That is my motivator.
Fantastic. Dr. Mashalkar, how do you call yourself professionally? A chemical engineer, a doctor, somebody who's done so much in various fields and has been honored by so many universities, an innovator, or a scientist, or a bureaucrat, or an administrator, because you held, you transformed like never before CSIR, the world's largest, laboratories network with 40 plus laboratories as far as my knowledge goes. You were the DG. So what would you, call yourself as over the last 50 years, 60 years of your career? Because you are now 83 plus, you're in the 84th year of your life, and you've spent almost 50 years, more than that, handling various roles. So how do you, like yourself to be called professionally?
Well, I like myself to be called as an engineering scientist, all right? Because there are hardcore engineers, like Dr. Anil Kakodkar, who actually build atomic reactors, nuclear reactors, and so on and so forth. Okay. But there is a science behind the engineering, and I do that actually. So that is engineering science. So I would call myself an engineering scientist. These doctorates are sort of a reward for or honor that you receive from others. So that is fine. That's not a sort of a issue. But fundamentally, what I ask myself is that what my science, what my engineering science can do for the society, for my India, for my nation, and so on and so forth. So that is how I would like to describe myself.
Would you like to be referred to as the kind of messiah for Gandhian engineering?
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, that's a interesting one. In fact, in 2008, I remembered that I was honored by the Australian Academy. And I was the first fellow to be honored by Australia. And I said that means they don't know enough about India, because I could list out 100 people who were better than me. So I said I must tell them something about India. So the title of my talk was From Gandhi to Gandhian Engineering. Okay. And I describe Gandhi engineering in the following way. I said, Mahatma Gandhi had said that nature has given us enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. Everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. What it means is that his message is that use the exhaustible resources carefully and less, and get more and more out of them so that you can leave them behind for the next generation, the following generation, second, third, fourth. So this means more from less for more. Okay, getting more from less for more. That became MLM, and that is the book basically that I wrote, More from Less for More, Innovation's Holy Grail. Why do I say it is innovation's holy grail? Because it is very easy to get more from more. You have iPhone 5, iPhone 10, iPhone 17. They become more and more expensive, and less people can afford them. So our current innovation is more from more for less and less people. Okay. The other way around is getting more from less for more and more people. That means just not just for more and more profit, but for more and more people. What does it mean? It automatically means that you have to make high technology work for the poor. You have to automatically create affordable excellence. Now, normally affordability and excellence don't go together, but that is what we have to put together. And if you make it not affordable, but ultra affordable, that means not 10% less, 10 times less, 100 times less, then the poorest of the poor can afford it. Okay. So in my mother's name, Anjani Mashalkar, I have created what is called as Anjani Mashalkar Foundation. All right. And that uses the principles of Gandhi engineering, getting more from less for more. Let me take a few minutes to explain to you what those are. I created it in 2011, so there is 15 years, and we give an award every year, which is a small award, 1 lakh. But I put condition. I'm not a believer in best practice. I'm a believer in creating next practice. Okay? Because when you say best practice, you are copying somebody and saying, yes, I'm following him. I don't want my India to be a follower. I want my India to be a leader. So we have to create the next practice, which can become the best practice for others. We have to lead. Now, how do you do that? For example, take ECG, electrocardiogram. What would you do if you wanted to ECG? You will go to the hospital, lie down, nurse will come, put 12 leads on you, take half an hour, charge you something, and the rest of it, etc. Now, here is an awardee. This is a portable ECG. You can carry it in your own pocket. How does it work? You put your two fingers here on the sensors for 15 seconds. Then you have a sensor here, which you put around your heart. Okay. 15 second, 15 second, 15 second above the heart. 15 second, 15 second, 15 second below the heart. Okay. And in 3 minutes flat, you get a medical grade ECG equal to 12 lead medical grade ECG. This is now in 12 countries, by the way. All right. Now you can see what is the cost of this, just 4,000 rupees. And once you buy it, that's all. You don't have to replace it. Secondly, the cost per ECG is a very, very small fraction of the ECG that we will take in a hotel. This is getting more from less for more people, because even a person in a village, basically, if there's a pain at night, for example, in an old woman's heart or man's heart, you have to put him in a bullock cart or a two-wheeler or sort of whatever you had and had to take him to the hospital. No, you can do it right there. This is Gandhi engineering. Look at the second innovation. You can see it here. What is the second innovation? Uh, you want to measure your hemoglobin. Okay. What do you do for getting hemoglobin? You'll take a prick, take a blood sample, it will be sent to the lab, and after a few hours, you will get the report. Here, all that you do is that you can see this flap here. You put your finger here, basically, and it uses some very advanced physics to give you a number, which is your hemoglobin. What is the cost? 10 rupees. That's all per test, not 100 or 200 rupees at all, actually. This is getting more from less for more, basically. Similarly, breast cancer. Breast cancer, what is the best practice? Mammography. Okay. It is painful. It is expensive. It uses radiation. It is not available in villages. Now, one of our awardees has created this, all right, this device. It is called iBreast. Okay. This is in 20 countries now, by the way. FDA approved. And Lancet has recognized this as the best non-invasive device. What does it do? You just move this around the breast, so as to say, and it is able to spot the tumor, so as to say. Okay. What is the cost? 100 rupees per test, so as to say. Not 1,000, 2,000 rupees at all. Okay. And now you can see, for example, I was in Goa day before yesterday. I was told that in 2 years, they have scanned something like 2 lakh women, basically. And because this is painless, you can imagine they are not afraid to come and get themselves tested. We did some tests for ASHA workers, for example, a sample of 500, out of which 6 were found to be sort of malignant cancers by such devices. So this is the principle of this more from less for more. And all these case studies that I mentioned about are covered in this particular book. That's what India needs. Now, what we have done is very interesting. We have created this kit. You can see that. That is called FX Healthcare Kit. What does it contain? It contains some of these devices, basically. And remember the number 20, 10, 100. What does it do? It does measurements of 20 parameters, whether it is hemoglobin, whether it is blood oxygen, whether it is blood sugar, whether it is heart murmur or whatever, COPD, and so on and so forth. 20 parameters. In how much time? 10 minutes. Why it is 10 minutes? Because it is non-invasive. You're not taking a sample, sending it out, and so on and so forth. Right there, we are using some advanced physics to sort of measure this. So 20 parameters in 10 minutes for how much? 100 rupees. Can you just imagine? 100 rupees is almost $1. And this is now spreading widely. We are working with companies like Tata's and their corporate social responsibility, and we are taking these out. Now, what is the big purpose? I said more from less for more and more people. Villagers, for example. We have one more example I will give you because I can't give all the 15 examples. This is your mobile. You cough into it and you know where your TB or not. How do you know that? Artificial intelligence. We talk about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has been used to train the audiometry, okay, of this phone with cough as a biomarker. And believe me, the science is so deep that there are papers in a journal called Nature, which is very difficult to get into. The entire India does not even produce 10 papers in Nature. There are 2 papers on Nature. So deep science, cutting edge technology, and you just cough. Now compare with what you have to do otherwise. If you have to find out your lung health index, the so-called COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, you will use a device, spirometer, which will cost you 1.5 lakh of rupees. Here, what is the cost? You already have the mobile, so no cost. Spirometer, you have to do the test for almost 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. Here, you just cough into it and you know. Spirometer will cost you 1,000 rupees plus minus, okay? Because there are technicians and so on and so forth, etc. Here, the costs are nothing, practically maybe 10 rupees or something like that. basically. More from less for more. And remember, the challenges of Indian villages is that there are no hospitals, the public health centers are poorly equipped, and they have to travel distance and so on and so forth. Here, a woman from her own home can cough. Okay, and if you have downloaded an app on Shasa, that is the sort of device, I mean, that is the app, even the best doctor from Delhi or Bombay or Pune can actually get to know about it. And what are the costs we are talking about? Nothing. Less means really less, not 10%, 10 times, 100 times. Okay. And getting more of it and for more and more people, more from less for more. That is Gandhi engineering.
Fantastic. We are all going to love to probably procure a copy of this national bestseller, More
Yeah,
from Less for More, MLM. You know,
absolutely.
so here is an MLM finally, which is good for the society. Anyways, because we've had various different kinds of MLM, in this country. So now that is the multi-level marketing I'm talking about. So here we have an MLM, which is going to be good for the society. Now, the major issue that today I requested you to join me, and on 21st of April, that is the National Civil Services Day. But before, I could get your confirmation, you said that you might be stuck. So today I requested you to have a separate show along with innovation on your experiences with bureaucracy, which the show says India's bureaucracy, the nation builders. Because the political system, the administrative system, the social economic system of India ever since independence and before that through the ICS has been completely been driven by the top-notch administrative officers of the nation. First of all, you have an experience of being an administrator yourself and also having dealt with major issues with bureaucrats through years. I remember you telling me your experience of having initiated the PM's Award for Public Administration Excellence in the 90s, which was started for the first time probably in 2005 and 6. And it is something which incentivizes the bureaucrats to do more and more. First of all, Professor Mashalkar, who is more important, scientist or a bureaucrat?
Oh, well, I've been, what shall I say, the Director General of CSR, which is um, sort of a top scientist position. But at the same time, I have been Secretary to Government of India, okay, for 11 and a half years as Director to the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. So I played both roles, so as to say. Uh, Let me tell you this since you talked about the PM's award, actually. Let me tell you a little story about it. I remember this was around 2005 or so. As I became senior, I became member of the core group of secretaries. And I remember there was a discussion on how to incentivize the bureaucrats, civil servants, and so on and so forth. So I was a scientist among the bureaucrats. So I was like a bull in the china shop. I did not follow the rule books and spoke what I felt was right. So I said, I'm sorry to say that the nation doesn't honor civil servants who go out of the way and do things, basically, out of the rule book and do things. And I said the only award that is there nationally is by All India Management Association. And I said, I can say that confidently because in 1998, the Vice President of India honored two people. One was the JRD Tata Corporate Leadership Award, which I got. Okay. And that was unusual for a scientist to get JRD Tata Corporate Leadership Award because I'm not a corporate leader. But I had given a look to CSR, a corporate look, doing research in a business-like manner and connecting deeply with industry and so on and so forth. That CSR transformation is ranked as among being the top 10 of the 20th century, by the way. Anyway, so I had done that. So I was given that award. Before me, it was Narayan Murthy, and after me, it was Premji. So it was like Saraswati sandwich between Lakshmi and Lakshmi. Anyway, now at the same time, Mr. S.R. Rao, who was an IS officer, was honored by All India Management Association for the award which was reserved for civil servants, basically. Okay. And what had he done? If you remember, Surat had this issue of plague, was ranked as the dirtiest city in India, and he transformed it into the most beautiful city in India. That transformation, as a matter of fact, was something that was rewarded. Okay. And I said that's the only award that we have in sort of the nation. I'm talking about 2005. And then I remember a civil servant was sitting next to me, a senior civil servant. He said, Mashalkar, you don't understand. We are civil servants. We are supposed to serve the society, not expect any reward or honor, etc. I said, sir, sorry, most respectfully, I disagree with you. And then I talked about the importance of incentivization. The cabinet secretary was very sympathetic to what I was saying. And he said, no, we must create something. And that is how that PM's award that you mentioned just now was created. In fact, I was a member, Prithviraj Chavanji was the minister at that time. And he made me a member of that particular committee for selection. And I remember the very first year, I don't remember the name of the civil servant, but he had done some fantastic work in Andhra Pradesh because cervical cancer was very prevalent. And to detect it in time is very, very important. And there's a very simple test, acetic acid, vinegar, you apply it to the inside part. And if you are positive, you get white spots. Actually, this is scientifically proven. And he tested some 1 lakh plus women, as a matter of fact. He was not supposed to do that, but he went out of the way to do that. And we honored him, basically. There was another one, for example, who had this ticklish issue of building a road where on the way there is a Gurudwara as well as a masjid. And by keeping social harmony, he was able to do that, by using his sort of skills without breaking peace and so on and so forth. So these were civil servants who went out of the way and did something very special. So that is where these awards actually basically came in. I must say that I have met in my own life bureaucrats who, without these awards, also have been absolutely transformative. There is something special about them. Would you want me to talk about a few of them?
Yeah, we'll come to that, but before that, let me focus a little more around the PM, because this show, major part of it has to talk about the contributions and the kind of impact the bureaucrats have made in building this nation. And the PM's award for recognizing public administrative excellence, something people like you who pioneered those things almost 3 decades back. Today, something which has been grabbed by both hands by the bureaucrats who work in the field. Last year, when the portal was opened, to your knowledge, I'm sure you're aware of it, and you're keeping a track and a tab of these developments. Out of the 2035 applications, received by the PM's office, 1,000 plus were in the area of innovation. Almost 500 were in the areas of aspirational blocks, and the remaining were to drive forward the PM's 11-point program, various schemes and initiatives at the district levels. Now coming to the innovation part of it, people like you who are champions of innovation, who've been secretary to the government of India, how well the bureaucracy of today, or probably 10 years back or 20 years back, used to work in collaboration, in synergy with innovators like you, scientists like you, because you were also for 18 years the chairman of National Innovation Foundation.
Yes.
Now, now, my idea is, why are these bureaucrats working? This is a huge country. The problem is that today you showed me 4 devices in 10 minutes, which can transform lives. Now, we have so many similar innovations happening all over the country. These bureaucrats have filed applications for 1,000 innovations last year. They are going to be awarded in Vigyan Bhavan on Tuesday by the Honorable Prime Minister. What is the kind of synergy you've experienced with the bureaucracy in driving innovations? If I have to just focus on that niche part of the PM's award, which honors innovative, developments or innovative steps taken by these bureaucrats, and how much is the role of the scientist? Because you were also president of INSA, Indian
Yeah.
National Science Association. So you know it all from the science perspective. You also know it almost all from the bureaucratic perspective. So have they been, properly synergizing with the scientists to drive innovations? Because without that, on a scale, mass scale, India cannot achieve what you just now showed to us, more from less for more. Your
Yeah.
views and your suggestions.
Yeah. No, I think that's an excellent question. I think let us understand the meaning of innovation first. Innovation is all about doing things differently to make a difference. Doing things differently to make a difference. There are several definitions, but this is the one that I like the most. And the moment you are stuck in a rule book, that itself is a killer, because rule book describes exactly what you should be doing and you should not deviate from that. Innovation is antithesis of that. Innovation is doing things differently. All right. So there is a conflict that comes in right away. And therefore, there are some bigger principles that you have to adopt, so as to say. I will highlight five for you, basically, as far as bureaucracy is concerned. The first is purpose before procedure. In a sense, you have to ask finally who benefits and how. The second is courage over comfort, because do what is right, not do what is easy. The third is execution itself is ethics, because delay is actually injustice, so as to say. All right. So execution becomes important. Then integrity is non-negotiable, actually. So you have to draw red lines from day one. And finally, your ability to listen deeply, because when you are interacting with citizens, you are not dealing with a cases or a file, basically. You are dealing with human beings. You are dealing with voices. You know, you may forget the number of files you have cleared, but people will never forget the lives you have touched, so as to say. As long as these five principles are borne in mind, basically, and the best of the bureaucrats that I have met in my life have actually followed this. That's the number one. Number two is that I on the other day I spoke about these GEM. GEM is government this electronic marketplace, basically.
E-marketplace.
Yeah, yeah, GEM. And in my speech, I said that we have to revisit GEM from the innovation point of view. Because what happens, like for example, I said, cuff into a phone and you know where your TB. Now, this does not find any classification, because the only way you can identify TB or not, that is prescribed, is either X-ray or sputum test or culture. But software as a medical device, because this is, we are talking about software, we are talking about artificial intelligence, is not classified. All right. So the fellow has a problem in sort of approving something like this. Okay. So anytime there is a new breakthrough which is not classified, you get into a difficulty. And then you have to take a call that yes, I will look at the bigger purpose. What is the bigger purpose? Within 10 rupees, within few seconds, you are able to identify TB. As long as it is scientifical and technological proven, all right, that should be okay. Similarly, I will tell you, I was the co-chairman of Maharashtra State Innovation Council for 10 years. Okay. In 2018, we did the Maharashtra State Startup Policy. Okay. And there I said, if a Sachin Tendulkar hits a century when he's 15, all right, in a Ranji Trophy, he gets into the test. But if it is a startup, they will ask you, where is your 10-year experience? Now, by definition, the startup cannot have 10-year experience. Otherwise, he won't be startup. So we said in Maharashtra that we'll change the tendering processes. Okay? There will be certain criteria he has to make. This is called an assured framework from my book Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting that I will talk separately, where it is there are criteria of affordable, scalable, sustainable, user-friendly, rapid, excellence in terms of technology, and distinctive, not just a copy. Okay? And these are quantitative. You pass those criteria and you can get it. All right? Without tendering processes. So we strengthen the bureaucrats, basically. I'll give you one example, like Sagar Defense, okay, which was a robot, sort of drones that could clean liquid surfaces. And in Pune, for example, after Ganesh Chaturthi, the idols are immersed in rivers, as you know, used to be, now it has changed. And the Pune Chinswad Municipal Corporation gave them the job without tendering because they met all these criteria. Then from Pune, they got other jobs, Nasik and so on and so forth, etc. Today, they have become one of the biggest supplier of unmanned vehicles to Army. Not only that, a few months ago, Boeing invited them to join their advanced liquid robot project. Now, can you just imagine if they were asked, where is your 10-year experience? The doors would not have been opened. All right. So, therefore, the answer to your question is that innovation is doing things differently. Like I give you the example, you cough and you know where your TB, which is not classified. We need to get back into the fundamentals, saying that innovation is going to create something different. For example, we have the desire, at least I've been championing it. I want India to be the first in the world to do something. Now, if your public procurement purchases are going to say that at least you should have three, let us say, beats. How would you have three beats when you are the first in the world? You will not have, no. That means you are designed to remain permanently behind. Unless somebody else has done it, you won't be allowed. So वो जो total mindset है ना, वो बदलना है. I always talk about talent, technology, and trust. They have to go together. We have to start trusting, taking risks, so as to say, and they work. By the way, our Honorable Prime Minister, couple of years ago, launched at Cochin Shipyard the fuel cell, which was created through my program called NIMITLI, New Millennium Indian Technology Leadership Initiative, which I started in the year 2000, and we went into fuel cells at that time because these are advanced technologies which are not available for love or for money. We anticipated that these are going to be important. We created that. So what it does is that a ferry, for example, carrying 50 people, it uses these fuel cells. So what is the emission? Emission is just water because these are hydrogen-based fuel cells. The hydrogen is combusted and electricity is created, and you run it basically. And today it is running in Varanasi and the entire greenway is going to be sort of, I mean, entire waterways are going to be green if you start using this technology and so on and so forth. But we started this particular work when it was a big risk because neither the markets were known nor the technology was known. So we had taken a big risk, as a matter of fact, at that time, because Indian industry had always worked where markets were known and technology was known. We went into an area where technology was not known, markets were not established. And today, India is self-sufficient in terms of such fuels. Okay? So, therefore, I think that entire sort of this thing, that's what my book, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting, which has become the best business book of the year, by the way. It was sort of ranked. What is that leapfrogging to pole vaulting? अरे फ्रॉग लीप्स अ फ्यू फीट, क्या फायदा उसमें? एंड वो डर के करता है, आई मीन, बिकॉज ही इज अफ्रेड ऑफ द प्रीडेटर. वी मस्ट pole vault, and under honorable prime minister's leadership, as you can see, India is pole vaulting. I mean, if you just see what we have been able to achieve in sort of 10 years, the size of the pole is the size of your aspiration, so as to say. So innovation has to belong to that. And if you are pole vaulting, you are creating software as a medical device, you are going way ahead of the rest of the world, etc., then our systems, processes, rule books cannot remain the same. They have to change, basically. That's the issue. So I think it's a combination of these three that will finally work.
I think this is a beautiful book that everybody should read. Now, if I come back to the kind of working in silos issues, India has 700 districts. We have the district magistrates, collectors, and all. We have institutions like INSA. We have CSIR. We have NIF. We have got this National Innovation Foundation. Then we've also got Anusandhan Research Foundation now, which has got a huge fund allocated for innovation and supporting scientists and innovative practices. In your experience, have you seen the bureaucracy benefit through collaborations with such institutions and scientists? And what has been the government's role in the past few decades and now in the future? What do you suggest? Because these bureaucrats who have filed 1,000+ innovations for the PM award clearly indicate that innovation is what everybody is looking forward to. And scientists probably know best about innovations. And obviously, these bureaucrats who are a mix of engineering graduates who come to civil services, scientists, people from doctor, MBBS backgrounds, people from various backgrounds, they join the civil services, after being already highly qualified. So they have a very beautiful acumen which can grasp these innovative solutions. Every district has a separate problem. There are books which are published. There are case studies which are published, which talk about the best practices, and then they can be replicated across the nation. Your experience and your suggestions, how to replicate, how to make it easier, how to make it more pervasive, how to make it more collaborative when it comes to innovation and serving the nation by having a bureaucracy scientist collaboration.
I I think there is a very simple answer that, as I said, talent, technology, and trust. The trust, India's challenge is not budget deficit, it is trust deficit. Let us build that trust deficit. Number one. Number two, the behavior changes basically. You know, as you change the rule book, as you change the sort of this thing. I'll give you an example. I have a gambler's instinct, so as to say. Okay. When I was the director of National Chemical Laboratory, I started kite flying fund. You know what is kite flying? I said, great idea, breakthrough idea, which can change the world, where chance of success will be 1 in 100. I will support it. That was risk taking, isn't it? 1 in 100 means 99 will fail. And I was prepared to sort of support that. The fact and there was a competition in because you had to have great ideas in order to breakthrough ideas in order to sort of win that. And people actually started taking risks on ideas they would not normally even think of. When I went to CSR as a director general, I didn't want to call it kite flying fund. All right. I called it a new idea fund, so that it is not misunderstood. And I will tell you, it was exactly the same message that went, and people went. As a matter of fact, I mean, I still remember there were two papers on, patterns, US patterns on spin computing for the first time in the world. But we did not have the ecosystem to take it forward. That's a different matter. Ideas like that actually came up. And then I created this NIMITLI, New Millennium Indian Technology Leadership Initiative, where I said, as against industry working, where technology was known and markets were known, I said technologies are known, markets are unknown. And we started supporting it, and people started working on it. So as to say, and as I said, Honorable Prime Minister launched those fuel cells, would not have happened if we had not taken that particular risk. So therefore, the behavior is decided by what you encourage. All right. And therefore, if failures are not tolerated in India, actually, but fail is a part of innovation. Every idea doesn't succeed, as a matter of fact. And therefore, fail has to be looked at as first attempt in learning, FAIL. Your best guru is your last mistake, as long as you learn from it. Chandrayaan 2 became successful because Chandrayaan 1 had failed. And they learned all the lessons from that and made sure that Chandrayaan 2 sort of worked. So I think our psychological makeup as well as the rule books have to accommodate this particular part, that when you are taking a risk, when you are doing something new, there are bound to be failures, so as to say. Okay. And therefore, how do you accommodate that particular part? Basically, in our psyche, and then on paper, because otherwise paper becomes more important than practice. That should never be the case.
You see, India, you were also part of the governing body of WIPO, Intellectual Properties Organization. And am I right?
Yeah. WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, I was the chairman of what is called a SCIT, Standing Committee on Information Technology, for 2.5 years. There are 176 nations.
And from the innovation perspective, India has shown very good steady and very steady progress for the last 10, 15 years, especially the 10, 15 years of the Modi government, wherein we can see that from a ranking of 80 plus, India today stands at around 38, as per the reports which recognize the Global Innovation Index. Now, India has, kind of pole vaulted into this particular arena of innovation, wherein even the patent filing, trademarks, the numbers have jumped rapidly like never before, as I'm suggested. But my understanding is these are the filings. How many of them are granted? Because we do not really, we are not somebody who can boast of a very strong kind of a IPR backend system, or the kind of regulatory system that we have in this nation. Else, I'm sure USTR, bodies like USTR would not have much to do in India, but they've been quite, stretched for time of late because of the kind of counterfeit issues, etc., etc. And I would not like to digress much, but patent filing, innovation index, patents being granted, India lags much behind countries like China in terms of the patents which are granted, or by the, for example, the university setup, which are in a kind of a, they are in a kind of a, rat race to get innovations patented, because they have a NIRF ranking and the kind of a NAC rankings with which their business is associated. And they have been filing innovations like never before. But the granting of patents, it's what should determine India's progress into this space. Your views on this particular aspect with respect to innovation?
Well, actually, India has had a peculiar history. If you look at 1898, I remember Sir J.C. Bose had developed this iron mercury iron corer, which was the fundamental technology for wireless. So he's the originator of that. Sister Nivedita went to him and said, "You should patent it." And he said, "No, that should be for public," and so on. Marconi came much later and discovered it. And we all learned in school that it was Marconi's discovery. It was J.C. Bose's, but J.C. Bose didn't patent. That was 1898. In 1998, Basmati, all right, there was a US patent that was taken on what a Texas company called, it was called Texmati. They had created a variety. I remember leading the fight on that, just as I did on the turmeric case, and showed that it was wrong because that would have costed us thousands of crores. We would not have been able to export our basmati. Okay. So from 1898 to 1998, it has been Bose to basmati, that travel. That's the first point I want to make because there was not so much of awareness. Partly, it was 1991 when we liberalized and opened up that we threw it to competition. Otherwise, Indian industry was merely copying. Patent laws were also such that any new drug that gets developed anywhere else in the world, within 18 months, we'll copy it. And we became sort of the pharmacy of the world by doing the generic. But we did not create new molecules because the conditions were such that you could copy and get away. That has changed now. That has changed now because it's a competitive world. 2005, we had to become TRIPS compliant. We went into product patents and so on and so forth. So it is the environment which actually puts you into this. That's number one. Number two is that are we capable of doing international patenting? Answer is yes. When I took over as director of NCL, National Chemical Laboratory, 1st June 1989, I addressed our NCL family at 11 o'clock. I took over at 9 o'clock, addressed 1100 of them at 11 o'clock. And I said, National Chemical Laboratory will be International Chemical Laboratory. What did I mean by that? I said we should be, we have been reverse engineering, we have been copying, we have been import substituting, basically. And therefore, anytime I do something new, I go to Indian industry. They said, no, 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 but have they done it? Has Europe done it? Has US done it? We have to stop that and we have to create our own system. And I remember a young man came at the end to me because I had said there is a company called General Electric in polymers. They had a breakthrough. My own research is in polymers. So I said we should be able to license our patents even to General Electric, who are the leaders. Okay. He came and told me, he said, sir, do you realize that the General Electric R&D budget is 2.5 times India's R&D budget? I said, it is not the power of the budget. It is the power of idea that matters. Okay. And I remember and I said, since you talked about GE, we'll take on GE. And GE had this polycarbonate manufacturer, engineering plastic. And within that area where they had 40% market share, we created new US patents. 3 US patents we licensed in 1992-93 for close to $1 million. That was the first reverse transfer of technology. Can you imagine the same people who were copying were able to create ideas on solid state polycondensation? I will not get into the technical details. Get US patents and license them to the leader in that field. Why? Because we changed the game. We said, no, this is not all. So that is where the awareness started. And then, of course, CSR, other institutions came up, etc. So we have been late starters, number one. Number two, it is applying and granting, but that is not good enough. Have you licensed it? Have you practiced it? Have you created wealth sort of out of it? That is the major. I've been chairman of the CII's National IPR Awards for almost 10 years. I stepped down basically now. And I have seen that there is a rising curve, so as to say, in our private sector. Can you just imagine that a company like Reliance, who is not very much known for patents, etc., they have the highest number of patents last year in terms of AI, as a matter of fact, among all companies. So there is a change that is taking place because there is no point in just universities and research institutions like CSR patenting. We were number one, by the way. I want to end by telling you that in 2003, I mean, I had driven the agenda on patenting so much that 2003, if you look at the World Intellectual Property Organization list, you know who is number one in PCT filings? CSR. Number two, LG. Number three, Samsung. And number four, UI. This is 2003. Today, UI is not only number one in Asia, in the whole world. Actually, it is not that we did not occupy a leadership position. We lost that position basically over a period of time. But I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it because I'm finding that there is a far greater awareness, and particularly with the startups now coming up, and we are exponentially growing. You know, we used to have one unicorn per year in 2016. And in 2021, we had one unicorn per week, almost 44, not 52, one unicorn per week. And they have to be highly innovation based in order that they sort of move. So people call me a dangerous optimist. I'm dangerously optimistic about India. All right. We will rise and we'll be pole vaulting, not just leapfrog. Okay. Thank you.
You have 5 more minutes?
5 more minutes, yeah, sure. Because I have some engagement at 12:30, but yeah.
Just 5 more minutes because we are, in the nick of time. We just clicking on the 1 hour, kind of a mark now. Anyways, Dr. Mashalkar, you have been closely associated with the Tatas, and the Tata Administrative Services is known for grooming leaders for administration. Tata Administrative Services.
Yeah.
Now, what is the parallel? And you've also been on the board of so many top corporations, India and globally.
Yeah.
How do you think India's bureaucracy and India's public sector can really benefit from experiences that people learn at academies like the TAS? And what are your suggestions wherein the bureaucracy can benefit from collaborations with the private sector? Because private sector works in a completely different way altogether in India. Even the tendering system which you talked about, the way the private sector is regulated is completely different from the way the public sector is regulated. So what are your suggestions for a public-private kind of partnership for improving the efficacy of the bureaucratic system?
Yeah. Once again, I go back to the fundamentals: talent, technology, and trust. The trust part of it. I remember when I was a member of the core group of secretaries, I had said at that time, for example, we have Ministry of Power, okay? And I said, supposing we allow the secretaries or the bureaucracy to spend an year in Tata Power as a sabbatical, the kind of experience that they will gain, will change their mindset, the approach, the system, the processes, and so on and so forth. But my proposal was turned down because they said there will be a conflict of interest. You get the point. I think we should start trusting each other because for public-private partnership, trust is the key, so as to say. Penalties for breaking the trust should be very heavy, but that's the only way we can come together. That's a simple answer. I mean, I can give 1 hour lecture, but
Okay.
eventually it
I
comes.
understand. I don't expect any more complicated kind of one-liners from a scientist. Now, Professor Mashalkar, you've been the member. You've been kind of a rare commodities, to become a member of the Royal Fellow of Royal Societies, something which was, decorated by the great Isaac Newton when it started 65 years back. And he was the first signatory, first member to have signed to that particular society. Indians have been there as well. And you just now mentioned Professor J.C. Bose, Ramanujan, Mahalanobis. These are the kind of names that we have who have been fellow of Royal Society. And you have been a member there. You have signed the same book, like, you know,
Right.
uh, and I know we've seen museums all over the country now wherein we find encomiums in the name of these great scientists. What are your major contributions from an innovative perspective? Something which you can be taken along as a legacy in the years to come. Like with each of these great names, you associate so many great, timeless principles and scientific inventions. So from Raghunath Mashalkar, what are the timeless inventions that you can associate with?
Oh, well, I got the Lenovo Science Prize, basically, of the World Academy of Science, which is considered kind of a mini Nobel Prize for developing world scientists. It's not $1 million, it is $0.1 million. But money does not matter, the prestige matters, and I was the first one to get it. And this is for what are called as stimuli responsive polymers that sort of we had worked on. These stimuli responsive polymers undergo volume phase transitions. That means you make a 1 degree centigrade change, basically, and they either collapse or expand suddenly. Okay. And they have a lot of applications in terms of sustained release systems, these, that, and the other, etc. That work on stimuli responsive polymers, but more importantly, even theory, because people did not know why they work the way they work. So we created these lattice fluid hydrogen bonding models from which you could molecularly sort of design them. We had a lot of new discoveries like self-healing, which was discovered for the first time, then incorporating enzyme like activity, we used to call them gelzymes, and so on and so forth. So putting life into these routine like gels is something that my work is sort of known for, which was internationally, I would say, recognized as worthy of sort of a prize. And that's something I'm very proud of. And I must recognize here the great contributions of my collaborators, Dr. Ashish Lele and Shaini Varghese, because of whom this was possible.
That finally, the trilogy that we associate Dr. Mashalkar with, a rare, kind of a commodity from Padma Shri to Padma Vibhushan in 20 years, in 20, 25 years. Now, when does the trilogy culminate into the final, because the bureaucrats are very, upset about all the scientists taking away all the Padma Vibhushans and Bhushans. And very rarely do bureaucrats, do land up with such kind of awards. There have been instances of top bureaucrats, even the advisors to the Prime Minister Gandhi, who rejected Padma Vibhushan as well. But those are political aspects. If I come to Professor Mashalkar to an individual like you, Professor Sierra Rao was awarded. Swaminathan, the great Swaminathan was awarded the Bharat Ratna. Now, when is Professor Mashalkar expected to be a Bharat Ratna?
No, no, I'm happy with the way. See, I got Padma Shri in 1991, Padma Bhushan in 2000, and Padma Vibhushan in 2014. And I'm grateful to God, grateful to the government for recognizing me thus far. I have no further ambitions or aspirations. My idea is to keep on giving back to the society, back to my India, my Bharat. That's all. I don't sort of aspire anything more. Thank you so much.
Professor Mashalkar, thank you so much for this time that you have spared with us. on kind of praising and kind of detailing your experience with bureaucracy for the bureaucracy. I'm sure in the years to come, people can learn a lot from the kind of initiatives that you have taken and your experiences and your contributions to institutions like CSR do not need any further certification or validation because the way these institutions have been timelessly performing is basically kind of a certification in itself, the kind of contributions that you've made, people like you have made during your tenure as the Secretary and Director Generals of such institutions. I wish the current generation and the coming generation and the political dispensation understands the relevance of honoring, respecting, and cascading the good work by people like you, so that in the generations to come, is something which the legacy can be carried forward, and India can really become a true superpower. We have all the resources. You are not the only one. There are people like Mr. Kakotkar. There are many more great scientists we have around us. I'm sure the government will do no harm to itself, to its reputation, by honoring and giving more platforms to people, who are trying to work in areas of innovation and science. And the bureaucracy will definitely benefit from all the good work that you've been doing over so many past decades. Thank you so much, sir, and wish you good luck and good health. And I am sure the next year, 2027, because your birthday is on 1st January, you have
Yes.
a very special day as your birthday. So on the 1st of January, we can meet up again, talk again. We can wish you a very good, healthy year. And by that time, you must have already contributed so much more to the country. Thank you. Jai Hind. Vande Matram.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It has been an honor and a privilege. Thank you for giving it to me. Thank you.